Hi team, so I'm gonna walk you through this prototype, um, and we're gonna take a simple, scenario of like signing a rental agreement. So as the landlord, I can go here and create a new envelope. I can upload the lease agreement. I'll have to select what type that is. So this is a leasing agreement. I hit continue. I enter the recipient's name, their email, and I can add a message. Once I send this for signature, they will be receiving an email um, that would, which when they click, it'll look something like this. This summarizes the document of what that is and the action that I'm supposed to take as a tenant. I can hit continue, and it previews the document PDF on the left side and gives me a summary of again what the agreement is about. And it is also mentioning there's two things that are worth my attention, that are that I should probably watch for. I can see that, and I can also click show, and it would specifically highlight where that thing is written within the document itself. So if there's any watch outs or any red flags to look for, the AI is automatically doing the work of going through it and alerting me so that I can sign with more confidence. And if there's any questions I have about the document, I can just leave it here. It would answer that. It also has some suggested queries that I can prompts that I can go through, and even for those, it is also pulling the source from the document that I can actually look into and read more. I can go continue to sign once I'm done reviewing. I can draw a signature. I can also take the camera app to actually scan my thing. So I can go here, capture this, and it would automatically capture my thing and digitize it. I can retake or use it. Um, in this case, I'm just gonna go with drawing my signature, and I agree and sign. So once that is done, I get a successful confetti message that this is done, and I can go ahead and download my signed PDF. So the process behind coming up with this was I basically try to use DocuSign myself as a user, walking through the end-to-end journey of how you basically create a new envelope and sign it yourself. One of the things that I personally faced was I would never like read the agreement itself, because it's most of the time it's very long. Even yesterday I had a dentist appointment, and my dentist made me like sign to some consent because they were using some laser, and I just scrolled past through and signed it. So that's the core problem I wanted to address and solve, rather than just people skipping it because the text is too long, boring. If we can highlight some key takeaways that they can refer to, I think that's the hypothesis around which I've sort of tried to build this prototype. Now, when I was doing this, I saw that DocuSign already has a feature, like a summarize feature, that gives you like a summary of the documents, the key events, if there's any blockers. Um, but it's a simple button on the top right that I may not want to click, or I wouldn't really care, and it's very easy for me to ignore that. And even once I do, I'm really not gonna read all of this because it's a long bunch of text. Um, so with my prototype that I had, the idea is to make, reviewing like front and center of the attention, putting the brief very upfront, making it accessible for the user to, you know just see what's really important, having suggested callouts that they might have. For example, if I'm getting a new rental property, I would want to know what the termination fees is it 1 month's due payment or 2 months? And I can simply interact with the PDF using the suggested prompts, or you know having a free input text field for me to go through. um, and this basically helps me, you know it's like having someone, um, like an expert, to like go through it and signing with confidence rather than just blindly going ahead and moving forward. um, I want to talk about um, some of the key interactions parts of the whole journey. So uh, i I basically started with like having the base prototype. In first 5 minutes, I extracted all of the variables and tokens using your website. I created a design md file to set that up, and then once I identified like this is the problem area I want to focus and improve, um, I have this skill that basically pulls, it has MCP connections with all of these sites that have these really cool micro interactions, and it helps me come up with different ideas around what I can do to aid that solution. So I used that skill to come up with this delight plan, and it gave me it's a HTML prototype which gave me a bunch of options to look at for the problem that I specifically had, and I could basically just demo each of those solutions. So this is how I had the yellow highlighting micro interaction idea of how that specifically works. There was one more where I can specifically mark things, um, and it would, after I once I review everything, then that's when it lets me agree. There was a check mark thing which makes me more accountable. So the idea is to intentionally add some friction so that the user is forced to review and not just skim through it. um, and yeah, just calling out the brief, the text right in here. So yeah, even when the signature is completed, uh, replaying it to give a sense of personalization for the user that they've done this. It's a you're done sort of achievement. So um, I use some of these to uh, you know add that experience to my prototype itself. um, and yeah, that's how I sort of just went through it, polished it further, etc. What I'm really proud of is the fact that it's built around this hypothesis of actually reading. It's not just a summarize with AI button, but more rather, a like summarize with AI button that you would probably never click, and even if you do, you may or may not read. This really directs the attention to, you're signing with open eyes, and not just reviewing code. And the inspiration behind this was also like reviewing code. Like developers never like to read someone else's code, uh, but GitHub has an interesting way of code diff where it uses minus plus, highlights the text in green and red to really compare two blocks of text of what has changed. So I wanted to give that sort of an experience to the user, and with the yellow highlighting micro interaction, I think it's in the right direction. So that's something I'm proud of, that I was able to do that. But if I had more time, I would definitely polish it. This is something that I would be, in a real world scenario, be comfortable sharing with engineers, with leadership, with my team, but I would definitely not ship this. I think it's 80 89% there, but like the finessing, the UI, the layout, the polishing for this entire experience is definitely missing. So I would work on that part, and I would also work on like just making this actually functional. I was planning on using Resends API to actually trigger the email and make this a working prototype. This is uh just a but yeah, this is just a front end mock, and yeah, I would focus on doing like a end to end thing, having more time. But yeah, thank you so much. I'd love to hear your feedback, and yeah, looking forward to learn more.